All right, Jenna, you know I use Indian clubs a lot with my patients and performance clients. My question is, how does the use of Indian clubs change when you're working with someone who's hypermobile?
So it definitely changes because when you give it to someone that's hypermobile, so one of the characteristics of being hypermobile is that you don't have as good proprioception. And we're talking proprioception like all of your joints, not just like your ankles kind of thing. So you don't have quite the same feedback of where you are in space. So that's number one. And then you add on to that the fact that you have more movement in general. So now you have this individual that has a lot of movement but isn't quite sure where they are in space. So when you give them an Indian club and you tell them to do either swings or slams or whatever it is, where most people stop just because that's where their body stops or where they know to go to, people that are more
Climbing
hypermobile,
right through it.
yeah, they don't have like the same cues. So all of a sudden you're like, why do they look so different? Or why are they extending their low back? Or why are they doing all these things? They get a lot of their input from getting to end range because they're not like dialed into exactly where they are in space. Now, that I think you can speak to it too. I think that gets better with some training and things like that. But at least when you're starting out, if you do want to go down that path, you need to put some like constraints in. So like
Yeah.
maybe you need to put them in front of a wall, or maybe you need to give them some sort of obstacle or something external that makes them stay within whatever you're observing of them not going into.
Oh, absolutely. I was just thinking of that because I just naturally don't use clubs as
Mhm.
much with people who are hypermobile. But I thought, gosh, what a great thing though. Like it's a lightweight that gives them
Yeah.
some input and things like that. It should be used more. What I find I need to do is like I'll find them pinging their neural tension all the
Yeah.
time because they snap out their elbow and their
Hmm.
wrist and they're an extension. And but so I slow them down is
Hmm.
the one thing that I do is I just go deliberately slow motion with them, which maybe is allowing them that better proprioceptive feedback and
Yeah.
things like that. And sometimes I don't get to those faster whippy type
Hmm.
things until I've maybe trained them a lot more with a kettlebell.
Yeah, because I think that's a good point too. Like what you're saying is, yes, I agree with like the pinging neural tension or like they're feeling a quote unquote weird stretch or an intense stretch at certain ranges of motion. And like you're saying, like, what are you doing the Indian clubs for? So like if you're doing it for like coordination and timing and things like that, and they're like, oh, I'm feeling a really big stretch, like
You
that
missed the
might
boat.
not necessarily be what you're going for.
Yeah. But I will say though, with most hypermobiles though, one of the reasons you're doing Indian clubs is to improve their power,
Mhm.
because they're usually lacking power quite a bit. So it's something you want to get to, but boy, you got to be careful how you get there and what bases you put in place.
Yeah, I just one thing like just here, like you know how you said you should do kettlebells in first kind of
Yeah.
thing. I also think you should do like med ball slams or like things like
Yeah.
that before you like graduate to, because again, what helps proprioception feedback does and weight does, and
Yeah.
not weight like go get a heavier Indian club, but go get something that's going to give them some feedback and have some weight to it.
That's a great idea. So slow them down. Go to kettlebells. To if you're going to work on some of that power, some of that proprioception with power. Really, that's kind of a weird concept, but proprioception with power. Then go to a weighted med ball. I really like that a lot. That's awesome.